I'm ready.
Are you?
Oh,
I don't think you are.
shit.
Hey everyone, this is Curb, and I bring you another standard match. Today we're going to have a bit of a friendly match. Myself on the right, playing of course Ezel, and what else but Vermillion on the left. Of course being piloted by my deck tester Orion. Of course we do see myself going first, which is obviously where you want to be if you are Ezel. But as we're going to go through this match, we are going to be seeing quite a few misplays from both myself and Orion. So please go ahead and forgive us. But I'm going to go ahead and just swing at the Vanguard, just going to be taking it, deciding that, you know, one counter blast is totally fine. Now, I have edited this deck. Both of these decks are edited because both of them did get some pretty decent support in set 3, so they're just a little bit more powerful. In my opinion, Vermillion definitely benefited a lot more from its support than Ezel did, mostly because the deck was already kind of like, the deck doesn't really have that much room in it. It doesn't really have a whole bunch of like flex slots, so a lot of the times you kind of have to end up cutting some of your pieces. You have to decide, what can I get rid of, what do I want to keep. But anyways, getting back into the match, we are just going to be superior riding up into that Ezel. Going to be activating that order that we did, of course, search out, checking the top 7, deciding what to call here. Going to be calling out that promo there, giving it an extra 5k. Oh, are we going to decide? Yep, let's go ahead and call the promo. It is a little unfortunate that we can't really use it too effectively this turn, because obviously you could put it back to the bottom of the deck, you could get a 5k to your front rows, but unless you're multi-attacking, that extra 5k does kind of go a little bit to waste. But instead we're going to be calling out one of the new cards, the Platinum Mane Stallion, which is, you know, Ezel's new way to actually use energy, and it is pretty good. Basically it lets you use Ezel's start of ride phase skill here, checking top 3, calling 1, and then putting the rest of the bottom of the deck. But then of course the Platinum Mane Stallion does actually go back to the bottom of the deck at the end of the turn, so it's a little bit unfortunate unless you have a specific way to reuse it. Anyways, of course, doing one of my classic Ezel order things here, calling out that Cardfight there, Soul Blasting the 1, and then calling out a Din Drain. So I've got my board pretty set up. We've got some pretty strong attacks coming in at the opponent here. Of course, our first one is going to be falling into a defensive, but of course this Cardfight is still going to be able to hit as we swing in and hit into another defensive, which is, you know, just great. But anyways, I'm actually going to make a little bit of a miscalculation here. This attack, as you can see, was 28. I forgot about the extra 5k that the order does give, so I gave Orion the number 23, which obviously doesn't hit 28. But instead, we can proc the Cell Gown, since we did play an order this turn, as well as the other skill, the promo, which lets you target a back row gold paladin and just bounce it to your hand at the end of the battle. The other effect of Platinum Mane Stallion, it makes it treated as a gold paladin, so instead of returning to the bottom of the deck at the end of the turn, it is just going to return to my hand, meaning that I'll be able to use it yet again next turn. So we see Orion riding up into the, what is it, Thunderstorm Dragoon there, doing the exact same thing, searching out the Vermillion order. Unfortunately, of course, they can't get up to grade 3 yet, but unfortunately for me, they actually don't need to be at grade 3 in order to do things, because this promo here, the little dino guy, actually works if your opponent is grade 3, and it doesn't say anything about you being on grade 3. So I'm gonna have to deal with these two 20k attackers that are just gonna be swinging in. The first one's gonna be taking out my promo there, which is kind of unfortunate. One of the bad things about committing them early is that, you know, they do tend to get attacked into. Gonna be swinging in at the Vanguard for a 1 to pass there. Probably should have swung in at the Cardfight there, just, you know, get rid of it. And this last attack is gonna be swinging in for 2833, thanks to that Vermillion's static crack there, giving the extra 5k to that unit in the front row, since you do have the Narukami Vanguard currently. And of course, end phase, going to be EB6ing to draw 2 cards, since they do retire, since they use their skill. Of course, going into my ride phase, going to be using the Blonde Ezel skill. Quick note to remember when you're playing Ezel, always remember to energy charge before you use Ezel's skill. They technically both do activate the start of ride phase, so you do definitely want to energy charge in case you see a Platinum Mane off of the top 3 there. But anyways, gonna be Persona Orion, drawing the card, playing the second copy of the Reign Supreme, checking the top 7 once again. We got Biscotti off of the Ezel, which is one of the things I added, but I think personally I'm gonna have to cut it because yeah, it's nice to like not lose advantage when you ride up, but honestly you'd rather use your energy for Platinum main. You want to get like field advantage, and you really don't have a lot of energy in Ezel, considering you don't have any ways to energy charge, and you're essentially just using 3 every single turn, assuming you see that Platinum main there. But we do see the Selgown being called off of the Reign Supreme, swinging in at the Vanguard for a very big 23 here. Gonna be blocked with a Twin Cast there, as well as a 15k guard, making it a 2 to pass. First check is going to be a draw turn. You're going to be adding the power to that Tayfall, drawing your card, and second check going to be just another Tayfall, which unfortunately is not really going to be live, considering I've used both my order cards already. So Tayfall is kind of just going to be sitting in my hand as a pseudo, basically just a 20k attacker. Swinging in the Biscotti with the Selgown boost. The 18k Selgown is going to make a 38k column there. Going to be responded to with a draw chair, as well as the Twin Cast from the drop. Going to be swinging the Tayfault for 38 once again. Going to be opting to use the Drain skill here to put the Tayfault back to the bottom of the deck, just so it doesn't get attacked into by the Vermillion. Which honestly probably wasn't like the greatest idea. Like, sure, he can attack into it, but it doesn't really matter that much. I would have been able to keep at least 1 intercept or the Drain. Either way, I'm feeling pretty good. But anyways, running into the Vermillion, looks like we checked top 7. Not sure if we actually hit off there. I kind of missed that. But of course, Vermillion is going to be doing Vermillion things. Going to be trying to push back the damage. We are sitting currently at 3-2. Playing the order from the drop zone, just giving our Vanguard, of course, those 2 skills. One of them being very much like Ezel's promo, where your front row rear guards are going to be getting an extra 5k, as long as your opponent doesn't have any rear guards, however. Calling out the Vermillion's promo, the grade 3, as well as a Rising Phoenix there. And counterblasting one, giving the Phoenix and the Vermillion an extra 5k to allow Vermillion to attack 3 units during the battle that attacks. So we're going to swing 18 at the Vanguard, as well as both the rear guards. Thanks to the order, my cards are going to get bound, which doesn't really matter since this deck doesn't really have any recursion. But of course, first check is going to be what else but OT. So we're going to be giving 100 million, and I'm going to be taking 1 damage. Of course, we still have a Vermillion skill here, as we decide to put the 100 million onto the rear guard there. I'm going to be discarding the card and pinging my Vanguard another damage. Thankfully for me, it is actually a heal trigger, and it's going to be going off, so I'm going to be able to heal down, give my Vanguard an extra 10k. So we are at 23. Going to be swinging in the Vermillion for 18. With his front row rear guards getting an extra 5k here. The Vanguard is only at 18. So we're going to guard for 38, which is going to be a 2 to pass here. So I'm going to go ahead and do those drive checks. I'm going to see nothing, and a heal trigger. It's going to be healing down to 2, as giving the extra power to that Rising Phoenix, who, with the skill of that Vermillion Static Crack, now gets an extra 10k, making the total 46, which I'm just here looking at my hand and like, damn, I sure can't guard that, so I'm just going to be taking it. Hitting to yet another defensive. Obviously, this last attack is hitting for 100 million, so defensives don't mean shit. Going to be swing, getting the extra 5k, and the end of the battle is when you counterblast 1 to bind it and draw a card. So you can see I have that PG in my hand. I kind of do just have to decide, do I want to be at 5 right now? And I decide, no, I think I'd rather not. Even though, you know, being at 5 against Vermillion is not always the worst, considering, you know, they're just going to ping you for a damage anyway. But that's the choice I made, and I'm going to have to live with it. So obviously, having no rear guards, that is going to allow me to use Ezel's skill to check top 3. I can start to try and refill my ranks here. Hopefully getting something that can maybe call something else. Looks like we're just going to try and convert our field advantage to hand advantage with that Selgown there. I, of course, am going to have to be calling a lot of other rear guards, which shouldn't be too hard considering I do have the Platinum main there, as I whiff on Persona Ride, in case you missed that. Calling the Cell Gun does happen at the beginning of Ride phase, so going into my main phase. Going to be calling out the Platinum main here. Pretty lucky top 3, seeing that promo off the top there, and be able to call up the others onto the bottom of the deck. And then, of course, just calling the Tayfault from my hand, as well as the Jindrain. Now that my opponent's finally at grade 3, I can start with the multi-attacks, and I do have a pretty decent board for it, as we're going to be swinging in the promo, using skill to give an extra 5k to the front row. Now, arguable here, I probably could have gone for a little bit of a less, what's it called, less committal attack here, but I think that what I went for is fine. What I could have done is swung and then decided to bounce the Platinum main instead, but doing that would, you know, reduce my number of attacks. I wouldn't be able to get the 5. I'd probably max out at like 4 here. But in any case, we see Orion getting yet another defensive, and of course it's the same crit as always. Anyways, this Tayfault swing in for that 28, and then of course the Vanguard swing in here for 21-31. Now that we finally can use the skill, counterbusting the 1 and calling 2 things. But unfortunately, my top 7 is absolute duty garbage. I'm going to be calling a Persona Ride and a heal trigger off of the top there. Arguably, maybe I should have put like a PG instead of calling the heal trigger, because, you know, putting the triggers, leaving the triggers in deck does mean that you can check them, and then, you know, during your drive check. So I'm going to be checking, going to be hitting a blank as well as another blank, but at least that blank is a Persona Ride. So assuming I can live during the next turn, I will have a pretty decent follow-up. Swinging in the Ezel for 18, which is not going to be enough to hit the Vanguard through that defensive. I'm going to be putting the heal trigger back to the bottom of the deck, and then of course, since I didn't bounce the Platinum main is going to be following that heal trigger back to the bottom of the deck. One positive, I now do have less than 3 rear guards, or 3 or less units, so I can use Ezel's skill next turn. But of course, you know, Vermillion's going to do me a solid and get rid of those rear guards for me anyway. So, you know, Ezel can pretty much always use its skill. So it looks like we're going to be playing the order from the drop, using the skill of the promo to call itself back out. And then we do need to fill up that other slot, but we of course got the other static crack there. Gonna be calling the Rising Phoenix, popping it off in order to give the promo the extra 5k, and then calling another copy of that fucking dinosaur. So if you are a Vermillion player and you're looking at this board, and you're probably thinking, oh yeah, because these are some really fat numbers. The Vanguard is going to be swinging in at 36, using the skill of the Shinri to get an extra 5k, because of course you did actually play in order this turn, even though I have 2 rear guards. It's going to be perfect guarding the Vanguard here. Just deciding what to discard. I am technically going to be able to, like, you know, guard one of the other attacks here, or take one of the other attacks. Seeing nothing off the drive check, but of course these 2 numbers are actually pretty fat here, as we are going to be discarding card, pinging the damage. But thankfully for me, the final the effect damage is going to be over trigger, so I am going to be completely safe from dying this turn, as this promo is going to be swinging in for a 51, which is just kind of insane, the numbers that Vermillion is now able to get, thanks to that not even the promo, the Neo static crack, who gives everything in front of it an extra 10k, so long as your Vanguard did actually hit 2 times here. So as you can see me doing a little bit of a misplay, I totally forgot. I started shuffling. I called a cat off of the Ezel. You were supposed to put those cards to the bottom of the deck, which I believe the other 2 were a Platinum main and a heal trigger. So I'm just going to go ahead and correct that. You know, I did mess with my order, but, you know, it's just a cat roll, whatever. Deciding here whether I want to use the cat skill, because it is currently ride phase. So if I call anything, it is going to get called as a rest, which, you know, not that great. So I'm going to decide, let me just call this Tayfault. I'll just deck thin here, even though I probably would have preferred Tayfault to be in the deck. I really didn't have anything else that I kind of just wanted to get rid of. But looks like Orion also forgot to do something. I think he forgot to use the... Actually, I don't think he had energy to use the thing. But anyways, going to be Persona Riding there, of course. And then now we have to decide how our board is going to look. I do have another Platinum main. I think we got all the drive checks. So we're going to check top 3. Going to be calling one of them. Just checking the hand, see what we want to call. We actually got quite a few good ones. I think we got Promo Tayfault and Cellbound there. You see yet another misplay there. You saw that I overcalled the Tayfault. You actually can't do that. Platinum does have to call to an open rear guard circle, which is just kind of funny. But, you know, it doesn't really matter in the long run. If I had been paying attention, I could have just called the Tayfault behind the Ezel and then overcalled the Platinum onto the Tayfault. And then just done the same thing, called to an open rear guard circle. It doesn't really matter that much. But anyways, I am set up here. I do have the Dindrain, so I'm set up for 5 attacks here. All of them hitting pretty good, as I'm going to be using the promo skill here to give my front rear guards an extra 5k. This first swing, under Orion, going to be hitting for a very nice 33, which is pretty powerful. That's a 25k guard here. The other side also hitting for a 33, thanks to that extra 5k and the 8k booster behind it. So going to be taking it, getting a defensive trigger here, a heal trigger, which is thankfully for me not going to be proccing, but of course that makes my 38k columns here that much less impactful, or not 38, 33k columns here. I'm going to be swinging in the Vanguard for a nice 41, checking the top 7, hoping that I get anything off the top, but unfortunately I once again completely whiff. I've got like PG, Dindrain, and 5 other triggers, which is, you know, part of the pain of playing Ezel. Going to be calling out the Dindrain. At least it's an extra, under Persona Right is at 18. With the skill, the promo, it is at 23. So hopefully I can get some triggers here. I do hit a heal trigger, which is pretty good, giving the extra power to that Dindrain. And then perform our second check, going to be nothing, a Tayfall. You think that with so many triggers left in your deck at this point, and the fact that you filter, you'd be able to hit them, but nope, you just put too many triggers back into your deck. We swing in at the Vanguard for, I'm not sure how much that was. Let's see, this did drain at 1823 with the extra 5k, 33, and we hit with a PG as we took the other thing, using the drain to put the PG back to the deck. And now my Orion is going to be starting off with another Persona Orion. I'm looking at my hand and like, oh god. Hopefully I could survive this, but thankfully Orion only has like 2 cards in hand, committing a critical trigger here, going to be doing their best to, you know, kind of just finish things out here. I still have cards in hand, and I did heal down to 3, so looks like somehow, through some miracle, I've managed to turn this around. Things are looking pretty good for me, as we're going to be getting extra 5k to both of those Vermillion static cracks there. And swinging the critical trigger for 20k, which is pretty funny that it gets up that high with Persona Ride, and then of course the Vermillion static crack giving an extra 5k because of course the Vanguard is at a Vermillion. I'm going to be guarding with 2 cards here, the Platinum and the Tayfault. Just trying to do my best to efficiently guard all this. Swing in the Dino there for 35 with its skill, an extra 10k, and then of course the extra 5k. Gonna be taking it, not getting a defensive like I hoped. Swinging in the Vermillion at the Vanguard. We actually didn't play a order this turn, so the Shenri isn't going to be able to you know, proc, giving an extra 5k. Seeing 2 blanks, I decided to take it. I have to like bank on him not hitting a crit, but thankfully Orion did actually do a pretty big misplay here, which, as you heard, he didn't play the order. So those cards that I actually bound are supposed to be going into the drop zone, and because they're supposed to be in the drop zone, I believe what his plan was to put the Shenri into Soul, since you did play the order, which would give you an extra Soul so that you can call out the Rising Phoenixes. He was planning on multi-attacking at least 2 more times, but of course he kind of fucked it up. If he hadn't, I probably would have ended up living this. So also not boosting with those grade 1s in the back row means that he wasn't able to Energy Blast 3 and draw a card. It's like, it's kind of insane like how much this card has built into it, and like how good it is for the deck. Anyways, I'm going to be drawing a 6 damage heal, of course. What else? Looks like he's going to go ahead and just use that energy on the Dino instead, since he almost forgot. I'm going to desperately use my Ezel checking the top 3, and of course, there are my triggers, as we see 3 triggers off the top. I'm going to decide to just put it behind my Vanguard. This is probably my final turn. I don't have any more gas after this. Just going to be committing everything from my hand. Promo, take fault. I've got a pretty decent spread here, but unfortunately without the Dindrain, who of course I think almost all of them are out here, we're not going to be able to do very much here. And of course without Persona Ride, our backs are very much against the wall, but Orion doesn't have very much. But of course they take the first damage, and what else is it but a 6 damage heal? So I had a chance of winning this. I totally could have won it there, but of course, you know, 6 damage heal is 6 damage heal. So swinging in the Vanguard for the 18, calling off of the top, going to be hoping to get something. We do see a promo there off the top, so that's going to be at least pretty good there. Vanguard is still swinging for 28, which does hit at least. And let's see, the promo is currently at, only going to be at 20, so it's not actually going to be able to hit. Going to be guarding for 44 here, which is a 2 to pass. We have so many triggers left in deck. Maybe we can hit at least one, giving the power to that promo. As I drive check 1, a blank, and drive check 2, another blank. We have so many triggers left in deck, and our deck is so small, but we just cannot hit them. Going to be swinging in the promo using skill 1 skip, giving the front row rear guards an extra 5k, so everything's at +5 here. Tayfault's going to be swinging for 30, plus the 8k boost is going to be 38, but Orion does have the PG to block this final attack. And unfortunately, I am completely and totally out of gas, but thanks to those Vermillion static cracks, you know, you've always got power. And what else but Persona Ride, the 3rd and final Persona Ride for Vermillion. And now we do also have a Vermillion Thunderbolt in rotation, so we're going to be able to play it. Going to be calling out the promo from the bind zone, calling a Latifa, checking the Soul Blasting 1, checking the top 5, and deciding, is there anything better to call here? A dinosaur over it. I guess technically, if you had more soul, the dino would be pretty good, as we take a moment to appreciate that damage zone. But technically, yeah, I guess the dino is better. It does cost a soul blast, but it does hit 20k. Latifa technically can hit 20k as well, especially as long as you're swinging with Vermillion to take out the entire column there, because she does get 5k for each empty rear guard circle in her column. As of course we do use the Vermillion skill for one last time, giving the extra 5k to those back row rear guards. And if you can just look at my board, look at my hand, look at my damage zone, I am cooked in many ways here. And Orion has, like, I think Orion can get up to like 6 attacks here if he does everything correctly. Which, yeah, I think we should have. I think you just swing Vermillion for 36 at the Vanguard, and just going to decide what we're going to be doing. So Vermillion is actually at 36 here. I believe Orion gave me 26. So that's why I'm guarding for 33 here, which is a 1 to pass as far as we know. And of course we do have to decide what we're attacking. Just going to be attacking into that column. So it's going to be a 1 to pass as far as we know. Checking the twin drive, seeing nothing off there. So that is going to be a successful guard. Now those cards are going to get bound. Orion deciding if he wants to draw here. But he does eventually decide that he does have to do it, because he is going to be needing the soul in order to, actually do everything that he wants to. Using the skill of the dinosaur there, yeah, here we go. Put the Shenri in there. Using the dinosaur and get an extra 10k, an extra 10k from the Persona Ride, and an extra 10k from that back row rear guard is going to make a total of 40. I have no chance in hell of guarding that, so that is going to be the end of the match. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Oh, by the way, everything's read reactive.
Wait, what? Wait, what? wait, that's not what's return, is it?
No, it's one turn. That's one turn.
Oh my god. I like gonna fucking ping me 2 damage.
Power.
Every time. Literally 3 copies of that shit in the damage zone.
I think you're dead.
No, I still got cards in hand.
You got 4?
I'm at 4.
Ping 1 damage.
Oh god. Ah, shit! Even with our backs to the wall, full paladins never give up.
This game is getting way more intense than it should be. Power.
I swear to God, Ryan! You hit 4 defensives! Also, you didn't use Shenri last time.
I couldn't. More or less.
Yeah, but you played in order.
Oh yeah. Whoops. I low-key forgot about that. That's the only I forgot. I guess it's my only mistake. Did I fuck this up? Oh, I didn't have to play in order, so these might be... I didn't have to... Oh, fuck. I may have made this play here, actually.
I wouldn't have died anyway!
Oh,
what the fuck?
2.
Bad. My deck is full of nothing but triggers. Ah. No! What the fuck?
Oh, man.
What the fuck? You hit all 3! Can I just look at your damage zone for a second?
Yeah.
Can we just appreciate this damage zone for a second?